Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian. Today's video is going to be on removing a dual inline package. U1 is the package I plan to take off. I want to use this solder extractor. This has a reservoir that captures the solder in it, and it has a vacuum pump that is part of the soldering system. So some of these have the pump built actually into the handpiece, where this just has the chamber to collect the solder and has a vacuum line that goes over to the main system. It has replaceable tips for removing solder. So the first thing that you need to make sure is that you can get vacuum through this. These tips have a tendency to plug up over time, so you can use these tip cleaners that may or may not have come with your solder extractor system, but it's a good idea to find something like this. We've actually used paper clips and folded them straight and jammed them in there to clean a plug tip, because if the tip is plugged, it's not going to pull any solder into the chamber. The other thing I do is I have a piece of Kapton tape, and I'll show you this in a minute. Use that. If you can't hear the vacuum, if you're in an area that's loud, in here it's pretty quiet, I can hear if I'm getting a vacuum going through this tip. But if you can't hear it, you could use this vacuum system and check to see if you're getting a vacuum. And like I said, I'll show you that in a couple minutes. The theory on this is, for me, I like to stand my board in this vertical position if I can. Now, all boards you can't do this. Is a small little evaluation board. I can do this, especially on this side here. Now, when I get to the opposite side, there's a capacitor blocking this. I probably won't be able to do the technique I'm going to show you. But in this position, I can actually see the solder melting on the top side of the lead. So I'll know that I've heated the whole lead up. And the technique that I use is I put the solder extractor tip onto the lead, and then while it's on the lead, I do a swirling motion using the lead to hold it. As this, you would just take and run it around, and then as that's going on, I'm watching the lead on the top of the board. And when I'm in this direction, I can actually see that lead start to move, and I can also see the solder is starting to melt. While that's going on, after I see the solder has melted completely, I'll start the vacuum. While I'm vacuum, I still keep the solder extractor perpendicular to the board with like no pressure at all to the board, just slight pressure to the board, and rotate that. And that helps move all the solder from the barrel of the plated hull. Then after I'm complete the extraction of the solder, I bring the handpiece away with the vacuum still running for at 1 to 2 seconds. In that situation, that removes any solder that's caught up in the solder tip and brings it all the way to the chamber. That way you have, the next time you start, the chamber or the area all the way up through there is clear. You don't have any solder that's left in there from the extraction. And then you just start the next solder extraction by rotating the tip. The goal for a successful solder extraction is to only have to heat this joint or this land one time. The more that you heat this area, the more times you bring the soldering iron to it, the more damage you can do to this board. If the area where you're working, the temperature is below like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it's probably a good idea to heat up the board. Or if you have a multi-layer board with a lot of ground planes, it's best to warm the board up just a little bit, just at the touch. That way it makes it easier to bring the solder temperature up faster. So in this situation, it's cool here, so I'm just going to take just a simple heat gun and just heat this board up before I start the project. Just go around the whole area. So just warm it up a little bit. You don't want it too hot that you can't touch your board. Most of these extractors come with various diameter IDs on the tips. My goal is to try to get the ID diameter of the tip approximate the same size as the drilled hole, or you could take the lead diameter and add 15 to 30 thousandths of an inch to that lead diameter, and then select a extractor for that with that diameter. Solder's extractor is up to temperature, and I want to test to make sure I'm getting vacuum. I can hear that, but to test it, really, you just take this piece of Kapton and see if you can pick it up. It's picking it up very easy and holding on to it, so it's got a good vacuum. So we're going to start off, I'll get lined up here with the pin right here. As I said, we're going to put the solder extractor as close to perpendicular as we can to the board. And start that motion of, I can see the lead is moving, it's got hot, the solder's melting. I'm going to pull the solder, we're going to cool the joint off a little bit, retract the handpiece back, and then let it pull the last of the solder. Then we just go to the next lead and watch that solder start to melt. Pull vacuum, cool, and we're done. Go to the next lead. Just go and do all these leads. Try not to get any forward pressure of this tool against that board. Just want it to just touch it. And we're just putting all our energy to rotating this. And just continue on down. I want to rotate this a little bit so maybe you can see even better for this one. I want to zoom the camera up just a little bit more, just so you can see. Hopefully I'll zoom up enough and won't lose it. There, we're pretty close. Being pretty well magnified now. Let's get on this next to the last pin. You see I'm a little shaky, but see the solder is starting to melt. The lead is moving. The solder is gone. Cooling off the joint. It's done. Let's do one more. As the lead's moving, cool the joint off, extract the solder. So this whole one side is completely desoldered, and the lead should be all free, and we can confirm that. Now on the opposite side is where we're going to have problems. We're not going to be able to see that same connections. They're down behind. But I'm still going to keep it vertical and do my best to try to. So yeah, you can kind of get an eyeball. You can see in the same way. You can see that this is U1 pins. You're only going to be able to see so far, and I can bring it up, but I'm going to get a lot of shadow from that capacitor. But we'll try it, see how it goes. May or may not be able to see it. My hand's in the way right now. Get my hand out of the way. Not really going to be able to see it. I think we're one in. Yeah, we got to come back one. In this situation, I'm just going to show it this way. That wasn't good. As you can see, I sometimes hit the trigger before it's melted the solder, so it's probably not good removals. And no downward pressure. None at all. That will damage your board faster than anything. You can pull pads off so quick by pushing down on it. But cooling that pin down, as the air going through that, it cools that pin down, and it usually makes it easier to extract it. But dual line packages, the leads are bent out from the vendor, so they have a tendency to have that push out. Let's see how successful that was. Pretty successful. It looks like it's on. Let me get it so you can see. Let me get an orange stick. And we're just going to take it and lightly push it up. It came right out. I'm not using really any force at all, just pulling it up and out. Successfully remove that chip. And we didn't lose any pads. I see a little bit of, you see that little bit, looks like measling a little bit there from the heat. So that's what we're worried about. Every time we heat this joint, we're putting damage on this board. So in this situation, this board is a practice board, so it may have had the parts taken off a couple times, you know, for a practice. But we're ready to put another dual inline package in that place. We don't have to do anything. And the other thing to remember, never, ever, ever put flux on these connections when you're using a solder extractor. That will plug up your system. Trust me, I've done it before thinking that was the right thing to do, and all it does is plug up the system. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Give me comments. If there's something that you want to see different, something you didn't like, just let me know. Subscribe to the channel. I plan to do more videos like this of removal and installation of various types of circuitry. So thanks for watching.